This is Jan.
Yay, let's get it. Okay.
Right.
Okay, we're recording.
Yes.
All right, sorry for the delay. At 34 on Monday, November 7th, so we'll officially call this meeting to order. I'll just briefly say who we have here. I'm Carly, Director, District 1. We have Director Larson, and joining us online, we have Director Bowler Jack. Absent this evening is Director Morris, and then here as well, we have Superintendent Dr. Freeman. So with that, welcome to our guests that are here in person and for those of you joining us online. So now we will go to our one agenda item this evening, which is the public hearing. So these are for the proposed director district revisions. So at this time, we'll just open it up to anyone who would like to offer comment around the proposed revisions. If you are online and would like to do so, you can raise your hand using that function in Zoom or type your name in the chat and we can get you up. I guess maybe I'll repeat that.
You bring the thing of what we changed. What is changed?
We've changed a few of the areas as outlined on the map. There's both a written legal description for those who'd like to read along. That would show where the changes are. So the changes were to direct to districts 2, 3, I think most of them actually, slight modifications. And then the 2 maps that are on there can be used for comparison.
And the objective of the redistricting was to, based on the latest census in 2020, was to make sure that all districts are roughly equal in terms of population.
Correct, it's a RCW requirement to, after each census, so this happens in 10 years, to review the elected board member district areas and then make whatever modifications are necessary. So, and then offer that up, have a legal description, and then have that reviewed by the county. And then it's sent in for those particular district areas. So we hired someone, there are a couple of places that do this kind of work. So we hired Samanage Data Systems that went through this and drew the maps, looked at the census data, and we submitted all that. There is an RCW associated with this as well. And it does outline what are the areas that you have to look at, equal in population as possible, contiguous, compact, not disfavoring any group or party, and protecting areas of common interest. So those are the requirements in the RCW, and according to our individual, we meet all of those requirements.
To repeat what was stated, I think you stated one time, this is not the elementary school boundaries.
Correct. This
This
is
has nothing to do with that. It's
nothing
only
about school attendance.
Right.
This is merely
Just the
director, yes, basically voting districts for representing school board directors. We have other surrounding districts that are doing this as well. I know Seattle just went through theirs. Other districts may have done it last year, but for those that did not do it last year, they have to get it done this year.
Does this include the part of Tukwila? There was a, in relation to Highline, wasn't there a small chunk that had come up?
Ours are the district boundary for Tukwila was correct, the Highlands line was off.
Got it.
So our lines were always correct. They just had an adjustment on their side where they were claiming a fraction of that. Yeah, that's heavy.
Oh, yep. Mhm.
Yes.
I know,
Good sound when they're inside.
inside, yes. You know, it's time for over 12 hours, Friday. So, yeah, Friday night. So Wednesday.
The wind.
Mhm. Mhm. I was literally just saying, that our Allentown rarely loses power, at least my side of Allentown rarely loses power. And I was making a joke about it. I was like, oh yeah, I noticed the light out. I was like, oh, it's not gonna get us, no big deal. Next thing you know. It's out for 12 hours.
Yeah. Every time, so I started saying something like that. Say it out loud. I don't believe in jinxes or have to.
Yeah, but it's-
like that, but it's.
Murphy's Law, I believe you.
Yeah. And once this is done, for tonight, we do have this on the agenda for tomorrow with the resolution as well. So we'll have that ready to go, and then we can send that resolution to the county. They've already seen the maps and the legal descriptions,
Okay,
so they've reviewed that.
okay. And they were any like major concerns on their part?
No, we had an off number in on there that just wasn't consistent in there, so we matched that up, and that's correct now on everything.
Okay.
It was correct on one thing and not correct on something else, or consistently through, so we got that corrected.
And after it's approved, we'll, kind of resend out notification if people want to, apply for the board director area 3, because there may be a little more,
Correct,
there may be people now in that director area that weren't there before.
yeah,
But there's not, it wasn't a huge shift, but maybe a little,
but you never know.
so. If anybody's interested, they can check them out and see if they're in 3.
Correct, we will resend that out and then see if there are any additional people interested.
I may not know the answer to this question, but when I was talking about this to someone in the community this week, they're saying that in the past, we trying to be intentional around making sure that there's a balance of single family units versus, apartments and multi-family homes. Do you know if that was kind of considered as he was doing this?
No, type of housing doesn't fit in, it's just the number of people, so it's a straight census, like X number of people there.
Voting people? There's people.
Just people, just whoever was counted in the census, yeah. So, because that can change, people can move in, move out, but I think if you're looking at the type of housing, that will tell you a little bit about the density and the number of people, so if you had higher multifamily dwellings, chances are that would impact the density and the number of people within a given region.
Yeah, that was done in the past. There was this is before my time, but there was a district where they're having trouble keeping somebody on the board because it was heavily apartments and people were just constantly moving out. So and I don't know where they shifted because it was before my time, but they shifted so there would be in each of the districts a little more mix of apartments and residential or a permanent single family home kind of thing. So that you have a better chance of keeping somebody. And I think that's still, I mean, the apartments tend to be, on the edges around interurban and then up in district 2, 3 by Military Road, you know, and so it's pretty well distributed, I think.
Yeah, and with construction, it would be interesting to see because most of the new construction is more dense, for sure.
I think the new, like Bellwether is, looks like it's in District 4. And then there's lots of apartments in District 2. And 1. And 5, so.
There are changes after this year too. I was reading the RCW and the current one expires January 1st, 2023, but they already have listed what the next iteration. It's very similar to what's in there, but there are a couple of little nuances and what you have to consider when doing the revamping.
Yeah, the apartment one that wasn't done for any legal reason. That was just done because we're having trouble keeping
Yeah,
somebody on the board, and so.
Was that in an off census year?
I
Or they
don't
just
know,
know-
like I said, before my time, I just heard that's what they did, so.
Yeah, number one is such a long.
Yeah.
one. But it, you know, it has, again, it has to deal with the number of people in it. So
Right.
it just tells you kind of need a lot of space to equal the representation. Now.
Mhm.
I mean, the South End of one is interurban and there's, you know. Not, it's not a huge amount of residential. It's, you know, Starfire Sports and businesses and stuff. Residential is more at the north end.
There are a lot of people in that. Seems
Yeah.
like such a small neighborhood. There's a lot of people that live there.
Yeah, when we were doing the levy a couple of years ago, we canvassed, so we walked the area and so it's, yeah, fascinating stuff.
And they're building a lot of new houses over there as well. They're quite large.
That was just interesting to me, building a large house that's a single family. house. I mean, yeah, developers do what they do, but some of these are really good. I've seen people around too.
They just look the same.
Yeah,
That's why I wish it was just different. Like we bring back the character and
but
the
it's,
uniqueness of all the model houses.
it's kind of like schools though. If you go
Yeah.
around to districts, you can see when schools were built.
Oh.
And like you see the models consistently.
There's this district in Texas that they used to do school competitions, choir competitions at, and literally there were at least 4 of them that had the exact same layout. They looked the same going walking into it.
Yeah, you knew exactly where to go.
Yeah.
I know how to get to the gym. so,
Yeah. Since we started 4 minutes late, we have 4 minutes past.
No, it doesn't set a determined amount of time, so
Okay.
we get to get, I mean, we determined that it is gonna be till
Okay.
6 o'clock, right? Once you post it. For some people, I think they might even do like 15 minutes or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it just kind of depends. I don't think there's a requirement on the time. A special meeting that you have, like single item agenda, like you can make them sometimes pretty short, but I don't think that's necessarily in the spirit of public comment.
No.
So.
Use the code TSD board email, is that just the board or is that included? Doesn't include it, yeah.
But I'm not sure.
I was just thinking that.
We've got a lot.
Like, there's so many else things.
We do hold a lot of meetings in here. I want to make sure there's enough to go around.
I was just, I was literally just like, I wonder how many jobs that would be. She's gonna get same amount of housing.
Exactly.
This is better than the alternative.
Yeah. Some places. Probably less so than Washington. Yeah, I'm sure it's quite contentious. But also, there's now states that find what they have to do. Like in the state of
Yes. Mhm.
what they have to consider. I don't even know if every state even has to do.
Plus, yeah. Yeah, we have some of these questions.
Yeah.
Happy with the earlier sunshine. There's nothing more I hate than getting it's dark outside.
It can be tense.
It is officially 6 o'clock. Don't worry, if you are listening to this and you realize you missed the opportunity, you can provide a public comment tomorrow at the beginning of our regular board meeting that begins at 6:30. Jan, thanks for joining us. I hope you're enjoying your trip. And we'll see you virtually tomorrow. All right, we will officially adjourn this meeting.
We can just leave everything
Yeah.
set up. Which is kind of nice.